Hi, welcome to another video for Fresh Faces New Ideas. This is part of the new format for the channel. Like I said in the last live stream, the way the channel will be going forward is I'm going to make a couple of videos about, what's been going on in the news or other topics that I find interesting. And then on Fridays, we will have the live stream Friday. So if you like the content that I make and, you want to continue to support me, please like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and at Face Ideas. And then you can also hear me at Center Left Radio. So their Twitter handle is at Center Left Radio. You can go to find them on Apple Podcasts. They have the site as well. So you can hear me there as well. So that's the place where you can find me. So for this video, what we're going to talk about is the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court had two separate rulings. They struck down the last case against voter fraud that came to them, and they had a ruling against Donald Trump's being able to hide his tax returns from Cy Vance. So who's Cy Vance? He's one of the AGs in New York who's trying to get Donald Trump's tax returns because there's a plethora of evidence that he's been lying on them and he hasn't been paying his taxes. We had the report that he hadn't paid taxes since like 1995. There was the report that we have testimony that he would deflate and inflate assets in order to have a lower tax bill. There's reporting that he would gift his children a whole bunch of money in order to, look like he had taken business losses in order to avoid taxes. So there's things like that. So this ruling is just another step in all the legal troubles that Donald Trump is going to have. And this is very important. Why the AG for the nominee for AG, Merrick Garland, has said, like, look, I'm not going to allow people to have political influence on the Justice Department, because what's going to come out as more and more of these cases or reports of more and more of these investigations into Donald Trump, because currently they're looking into his Georgia phone call and they're looking into, the January 6th riots, and he might be potentially liable for that. There could potentially be civil suits for that. And then there's criminal suits for what the New York AGs and the New York departments are looking into his businesses and his finances there. So what you're going to hear a lot of is, they just hate this president so much that they're just going after him maliciously. They're just going after his businesses. They're just, it's all political. And having Merrick Garland say, no, they're doing their job, they're doing the right thing is a good thing. Having the Supreme Court have pushed this away is another good thing. It shows that the court that he stacked and he thought would protect him is going to actually follow the law and not allow Donald Trump to escape with all these criminal injunctions without having to pay for the potential crimes that he has committed. As let's keep in mind, this is not far-fetched. We all know Trump University was a scam. There's the less known but probably worse argument for the reason that the Trump Organization is not allowed to exist in New York without federal supervision. And the reason for that is because the Trump Organization was stealing money from a child's cancer research. They did a fundraiser for children's cancer, and they took that money. That's why they're not allowed to have a charity in New York, because all they did was use it to profit for himself. He used it to pay on his legal debts, to buy a picture of him. And I think it was a yacht as well that he used it to purchase. But anyway, the other problem with the Supreme Court is what Clarence Thomas said. So Clarence Thomas said to this on this voter fraud case is he said, just because there's not strong evidence that fraud existed doesn't mean that the election that people should have confidence in this election, which is just unbelievably just ridiculous statement, because the statement should have been, because that people don't have confidence in this election, not because there is evidence that there is fraud. It's they have no confidence in the election because they've been lied to for months and months, and they're still getting lied to. So this is being recorded on the 23rd of February. This Sunday, which was the 21st, every single Republican who went on the Sunday shows, every single one was asked whether or not Joe Biden fairly won this election. Every single one repeated the big lie. Steve Scalise repeated the big lie. He's the number 2 or 3. I forget which one he is. In the House, he was like, there's still a lot of issues with the voter suppression or with fraud and stuff, and Joe Biden's not really president. so the problem with having this type of view from people like Clarence Thomas is they're eventually going to have to see cases, because as it stands now, there's currently 165 cases, laws being either written up or attempting to be passed in order to roll back the ability for people to vote, whether they're in Florida with getting rid of Sunday voting, getting rid of mail-in ballots completely, pushing for stricter voter IDs, for just stricter rights and making it harder for strengthening purges in the voter rolls, things like that. It allows for people to lose the right to vote. And when you have people on the Supreme Court who have already said that things like gerrymandering are fine as long as if you want to deal with gerrymandering, you beat the gerrymandered district and then you can change the rules yourself. We're not going to say that a gerrymandered district isn't fair because, somebody's picking their own voters instead of, allowing the people to pick their representatives. We also know that if by some miracle they manage to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act or the For the People Act, it's absolutely going to be challenged in court, because they're going to say, oh, you're allowing illegals to vote, or expanding voting rights too much, or you're pushing too much pressure to allow people to vote. And when you have people who are openly hostile to the idea that people should vote, or who are okay with saying this election wasn't fairly done, or just because there's no proof of the election not being fairly done, you can't have it doesn't mean the election isn't fairly done. That puts a stress on the democracy, because they're saying that you can just use these lies in order to stop people from being able to vote, stop people from being able to be to get mail-in ballots, just to purge things, to make it harder for people to do the core of the democracy, which is to vote. So it is good that they decided to ultimately, strike down his defense of, his Donald Trump's taxes, and it's good that they, struck down this voter fraud case, because they just don't exist. There's been no evidence of it, and all these people are saying, look, there's plenty of evidence here, and they hit all the votes, or they didn't count all the votes. It's all there. None of them say any of these things in court, so that's clearly not true for any of these cases. So we have to keep an eye on this Supreme Court, because there's a chance that they become very hostile to voting rights. We already know that they've said, you can roll back the Voting Rights Act, because the Voting Rights Act is the reason why you don't need it anymore. They use that in their argument. So we have to make sure that we push against all of these anti-voter registration and these anti-democratic laws that make it harder for people to vote, and being used on the basis of this big lie that the election was stolen. Because if you use the argument, the people aren't okay, the people don't believe the election was done fairly, and you don't follow that up with, because I've been lying to them, as your basis for that, well, then you're using the big lie in order to destroy democracy. So once again, if you enjoyed this content, if you enjoy my videos, please follow me on Twitter @FaceIdeas. Please like and subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much.